And good evening on this Monday night. Welcome to the University of Dubuque Football Show with Head Football Coach Stan Zweifel. Talk to Coach Zweifel here in just a moment. The Spartans coming off a win on the road at Buena Vista. Get that second win in American Rivers Conference play with a 46-16 victory over the Buena Vista Beavers. Beautiful day in Storm Lake. The weather was just gorgeous. And the Spartans had a great second half performance that we're going to talk about here with Coach Zweifel. Explosive second half, outscoring Buena Vista 34-0. And Coach Zweifel, second half came around, and you really played extremely well.
Yes.
After a bit of a struggle with Buena Vista in that first half.
Yeah, it really was, and it's kind of interesting because a couple people had called and asked, well, what'd you tell them at halftime? I said, absolutely nothing. I told them we could play. Yes, I told them we could play better than we were playing, and really there were a number of mistakes that we made, and BB played a really good first half, and there's a couple things we could have done better. Our defense on the first two possessions gave up some yardage and a couple screen passes for touchdowns, Tim, but after that, really probably with about 4 minutes left in the first quarter till the end of the game, BB's offense was really stymied. We had our chances. We had a couple explosive plays. We had a couple penalties that took some steam off. But really what was interesting to me is when we got in at halftime, we thought that we had things that were open. We just weren't executing well, whether that be the receivers or the quarterback or the offensive line. We made no major adjustments at halftime, Tim. We just thought we had to play a little bit cleaner game and be a little bit sharper. And they had a couple of blitzes that got Ben in the first half, some free blitzes. He didn't take a sack, but it really rushed him a little bit, Tim, and I thought that upset us a little bit. But at halftime, we go in and we're down 16-12, and I don't think there was any panic by anybody on our football team. I kind of felt like I said to you, Tim, it's just like, hey, we just got to play a little bit better and things will go our way. And we started out with that first possession in the second half and scored, and then it really kind of snowballed from there.
Putting some numbers to your performance, nearly 600 yards of offense, 450 passing yards. Quarterback Brian Goltig had a pretty efficient day and no interceptions, and multiple receivers catching passes.
Yeah, it was interesting, Tim, when you look at the Nebraska West game with Ben and you look at the BV game, he is really efficient, high percentage of completion. I think close to 16 or 17 yards per completion, so obviously explosive plays. And in both those games, he didn't throw a pick. I just want to mention this, Tim. One of the things that I go back and look at games, as I always do, our games, and everybody who's playing, becomes more and more apparent to me as I watch the games that Wartburg really is a quality defense, maybe one of the better defenses in the country. And so when I look at that Wartburg game and what happened to our quarterback, I have to kind of take a little bit of grain of salt with that because he really didn't perform that badly in Wartburg except for the interceptions. And he was under some duress when those interceptions came. So I thought he got a little bit better on this past Saturday against BV, and we hope that continues that trend. Tim, we've got some good things going on with some explosiveness in our wide receivers. And Callion Buckner is still capable of taking a ball home run anytime he gets his hands on the ball.
Two receivers with over 100 yards receiving. Cameron Bryce, 11 catches or 11 targets. He had 8 catches, 120 yards. Wade Sheets, 119 yards, 2 touchdowns. Bryce had 1 touchdown. Todd Simmons and Torrey Butts Jr. both catching touchdown passes for you. So
really spread it out, Tim, very, very well. And you talk about Cameron Bryce. He's had a phenomenal year so far, Tim. He's really done a great job. And Wade Sheets is still kind of nursing a little bit of a hip injury, a groin injury. He's getting better, but we do have a lot of guys that we're able to target and get the ball out to, which I think it makes you more difficult to defend, obviously. And then we're able to maybe spread you out a little bit and hit Buck up inside a couple of times and allow him to get some big plays. But I will say this to you, Tim, and looking back at the game, we still haven't played a full game, nor have we played a clean game. Challenge the men today to be able to do a little bit more in taking some accountability for some of the penalties that we are receiving. Now, you can never take away on defense getting after people, getting an extra hat to the ball, doing those kind of things. We got one face mask, which sometimes just happens. We've just had a couple face mask grabs. We had a late hit on the sidelines, which was very close, but you don't want to ever take away the aggressiveness. But what you do want to take away is the silly falls where you retaliate for either being hit or somebody chirping at you. Those kind of things, you got to be smart enough and disciplined enough not to allow those to happen. So we talked a little bit about today. I'm going to start taking away playing time from some of our guys if they can't get that message home to them. And so I'm hoping that will spark us to play a cleaner game.
Yeah, that was one of the glaring things when you look at your production overall. A lot of yards taken away on penalties. Like I said, you had close to 600 yards
Yep.
of offense, take away 120 plus, and that's
Yeah, it's a 700-yard day.
yeah,
Yes.
700 yards.
And we had a touchdown call back on a wonderful play call by Coach Hookstead that Wade Sheets would have scored another touchdown. And so those kind of things, you got to clean it up. In that game in the second half, it didn't mean much, but it's going to mean something as we get farther along in the season and have more competitive scoring games.
You know, your most explosive play did come in the third quarter there. You mentioned Sheets' 72-yard touchdown pass, and was that really the beginning of what turned into the second half performance that you had?
Excuse me, Tim. Yeah, I think it was. You know, one of the things that we talk about in our show a lot, Tim, is the confidence factor. And in the first half, we did good things, but just never felt like, hey, you can take the ball and you can score. And that long touchdown kind of lit a fire in our defense, 3 and out. And we did some things after that. And that's a momentum thing. And we've had that a couple times. Nebraska Westland for sure, BV for sure. And I thought in Marietta in the third quarter, we had a couple of those momentum things going on. So the key for that is to maintain it over a longer period of time. And then whatever side the ball goes out next, for example, we score, the defense has to really ratchet it up and get a stop. Or if they give up a score, we got to go down and match it. That's part of the thing about a momentum in football.
Looking at Buena Vista, they had 297 yards, but 44 of those in the second half. So
Yes.
that really shows
Yes.
what the defense stepped
Yes.
up and did. And we miss if we don't talk about the fumble return for a touchdown.
Yes.
Those defensive linemen like to get recognized on Sumini Kuoma. He
Yeah.
did a great job.
We'll just call him AK. That's a little bit easier for both of us. I'm not sure I can pronounce his name correctly 100% of the time, but
A lot of vowels there.
there's a lot of vowels there, my friend. AK got a touchdown. That was really good. We had knocked the ball out at the 1-yard line on a punt, and we had got they had jumped off sides, and then we got a little bit of a fumble recovery for a touchdown. And those kind of things just roll into each other as you move along. I do want to mention that Connor Holla had his best punting day for us this fall and the past Saturday. I think he averaged right around 37 yards a punt, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, 37 yards a punt.
And the longest by far his average, I think he was 29 going in. And they used the same punt block that Wartburg had used on us the week before. And they really came after us, and Connor really responded to the pressure and got some really nice punts off for us. So that was exciting to see. And in the same instance, we were not as accurate at our extra point and field goals as we wanted to be, Tim. We have a freshman kicking for us there. We're going to get back to the board and get a little bit more work on him this week. But we missed some points that we left on the field because of a missed field goal and a couple missed extra points.
Mm-hmm. And Connor just he had 2 of those punts, 2 of his 5 punts inside the 20, and we can flip the field like that.
Oh, yes, because we talked about the last time Wartburg, we were always inside our 15 or 10 or 20-yard line, and the field was flipped, Tim.
What else defensively were you able to do
Yeah,
in the second half? The first quarters where both teams really...
Great question. I'll tell you exactly 2 things that happened. We had put in a little bit of new technique with our DNs in this game to try to collapse their offensive line into the interior towards the offensive center. And one of the things that happened is they got a couple perimeter plays on us where we lost contain. And that was planned not to lose contain, but what we did. And then they had a couple screen passes that went a long way. Coach Huberty made an adjustment at midway through the first quarter to take a little bit of scraping some backers over the top and also not getting down so dang tight when we were collapsing it. And it made a world of difference for us. We were pressuring the passer a lot. As a matter of fact, the quarterback is the brother of the 2 Herrera kids that played for us back about 5-6 years ago out of Phoenix, Arizona. So had a chance to visit with him prior to the game, but we were able to get a little bit more pressure. You could see it wearing on him as the game went along. He was getting pressured, getting sacked, getting hit, and it takes something out of you as a quarterback when that stuff happens.
No doubt about that. So you roll with a 46-16 victory over Buena Vista, and you know, you mentioned last week that you know, you just need to find a spark some way.
Yes.
You think you're going to go on a roll, and maybe this is the start of it.
Yeah, it's kind of probably too early for me to say anything like that. We've only won one in a row. But I will say to you, there were some things that I saw in the last 3 games that we've talked about. 2 of those 3 being losses to really good teams that I thought that I saw some daylight. Now what we have to do is have that for a continuous game, and we've got to be a little bit more consistent in a lot of areas. But there were some things, again, for us to build on. I think I've told you all year long, Tim, that I thought our receivers are as explosive as anybody in the conference, and our offensive line is getting better. Now we're playing with 3 new cats out there. 2 of them are freshmen. Come on now, it's going to take some time to get those guys ready. But now you're 5 games into the season, and I think they're getting that. And then, you know, when I look at our receiving core and our quarterback, they've never played together till this year. So we're getting a little bit more continuity, a little bit more awareness of what we're going to do in certain areas against certain coverages. And that's not an excuse. I'm just telling you that's where we were in our development as we go along. So hopefully we can start to put those building blocks together. We got a little bit better of a base. And we know what we did last week too, Tim, is we did nothing new. We didn't add any new plays. We didn't add any new schemes. We tried to figure out, hey, these are the things we do well. Let's do them a little bit better and put our men in position to win.
Coach, anything else about the Buena Vista win? We move on and talk about the next opponent on the schedule, the Simpson Storm.
You really mentioned it was a beautiful day out there. I always had great experiences going out to Storm Lake. I think I told you that story when I first got here. Wait till you go to Storm Lake. It'll be 17 inches of snow, and it'll be cold, and everything will be bad. And first time I go out there, I think it was November like 5th, and it's 72 degrees, and I'm like in Hawaii. And yes, it was a beautiful day. There have been one cold weather day out there, but it's always been a real nice trip for us because we're self-contained in a hotel, and we eat our supper there and our pregame at the hotel. So there's kind of a bonding thing going on there, and it's always been really, really good trip for us. And then, of course, I really, really appreciate the job that Coach Muldering's doing out there. He's done a heck of a job with BV. He's one of my favorite guys in the conference, if not the favorite. He just worked very, very hard, and they do a really good job. And I love to compete against him. I enjoy him, I respect him, and I have an admiration for him.
Spartans 46-16 winner over Buena Vista this past Saturday, and they move on. And the next game on the American Rivers Conference schedule is against the Simpson Storm, coming to Chalmers Field this Saturday. And we'll come back. We'll talk with Coach Zweifel about the Storm and more of the UD football show with Head Coach Stan Zweifel when we return in a moment. And we're back on the UD Football Show with Head Football Coach Stan Zweifel here on this Monday night game week for the Spartans as they get ready to take on the Simpson Storm. That's a 4 o'clock kickoff coming up this Saturday. I don't know if we call that afternoon or evening.
I'm not sure what that is called either, Tim. It's got some kind of different tone to it.
So 4 o'clock kickoff, we know that. Simpson College coming to town to take on the Spartans, and Coach Simpson, team that's struggling. They're looking for their first win of the season. Lost to Luther this past Saturday. A pretty competitive game, 33-23. But a team that's struggling, they can play pretty loose, and
they can.
You just don't know how they're going to come up.
You don't. And Tim, one of the things we've watched all 4 games, they've only played 4 as opposed to everybody else's 5. They had a bye early. Their first 3 games were away from home. They had a really tough schedule to start out. Been a little bit nicked up. They've decided on who their quarterback's going to be. I still think they're trying to evaluate their personnel, Tim, and find out who they really are. And when you lose, just like, we were 1-3 just a week ago, and, you're questioning a lot of things when your things aren't going that way. So you're trying to tweak things, you're trying to evaluate personnel, doing all those kind of things that you, as a coach, does when things aren't going the way you planned. And so right now, I think one of the things they've kind of settled on is they look like they've settled on their quarterback. He's thrown the ball a lot, Tim. They've had some nice percentage completion. They've had some nice yards. They had a good offensive game against Luther. Shot themselves in the foot a couple times. And then defensively, boy, I've seen them. They've been evolving, Tim. From what I've seen in game 1 against Waldorf, they seem to have changed a little bit about how they're playing defense and what they're doing with their personnel. So the bad news for me in that part is I'm not quite sure what they're going to do. That's number 1. Number 2, I'm not quite sure what the personnel will be. And they are a multiple defense, multiple in their fronts and multiple in their coverages, so that presents some problem. So again, this week we're kind of really going to try to do what we've done well in our 2 wins, and in the game against La Crosse, we ran well. We're going to try to get into that mode and try to not to add anything new, and then let our kids play. Now, though, as you mentioned, Tim, one of the things when you're 0-4, I mean, hey, if you let a team 0-4 get a chance, they're going to, hey, this is our opportunity, et cetera, et cetera. And Matt Jeter does a fantastic job down there. He's a graduate of Simpson when they won some championships, and I think he's a really good coach, and you'll have him ready for sure.
So you'd like to see if your team can start fast in this ball game? Oh my gosh,
yes, we really like to. We talked about that on Saturday out at BV, and we did. But, they also started out fast on their offense. I would just like to see us play a complete game. I don't know what a complete game means, Tim. I'm not saying you win 70-0. I'm saying you play well, you limit mistakes, you execute, and then you try to do the best you can based on what's taking place. There are times we lack some poise. There are times we lack some concentration. There's some times we lack focus. And surely we have not been able to put both sides of the ball together until the second half at BV. And I told our guys, when you put a half together, think what you can do when you put a game together, because we are a talented group, Tim. Young, and not working with each other till this season, those things. But now we're in game 6, and we practice now for 5 full weeks with a fall camp. You'd like to see some of those things start to come to fruition on the field.
Simpson does come in as the top passing team yardage-wise, 342 yards a game. Out of 387 yards per game, so yes, you're going to see the ball in the air.
Yeah, we're not quite sure if they won't get into maybe some empty no backs in the backfield. They really appeared to like their quarterback. They really appeared to allow him to throw, so they're giving him multiple options in the throw game. They've got some really quality receivers who catch the ball. So all those things, I think it's going to be a real test to us, number 1, to play pass defense. But I think more importantly, Tim, we got to get some pass rush. Now, Ben Rashid, we didn't talk about in the earlier show at BV. He only got 1 sack on Saturday, but we matched him up and put him in some positions. He really had some nice pressures in the defensive, making that guy throw the ball a little bit faster than he wanted. We got to do that. We've got to get some pressure on the kid, and then we got to really do a good job of keeping those in front of us and maybe getting some smaller zones and some smaller windows for him to throw into and allow us to have a chance to get some turnovers.
Anything else about Buena Vista, or Simpson?
Yeah. I think Simpson come up and, we've had good success against Simpson in my career here.
That's a pretty competitive game.
Yeah, oh my God, have they been competitive games, yes.
As you like to say.
Yes, Ooh, exactly. Boom, 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 boom. Like a little pong game back in the 70s or 80s. But yes, they are very, very good football team. Their 0-4 record doesn't show that. But again, I think it's more about us against Tim as we're trying to put ourselves into a position where we can play better football. I think our best football is still ahead of us. I think it's going to come, and I think we're going to be able to put ourselves in a situation that we can still have something to say about the conference.
Just before we let you go, I was going to mention this at the top of the second half of the interview, but I know you do have a handful of players that are from the state of Florida, and you know the entire country concerned about Hurricane Ian that rolled through there, and did it negatively affect any of those players?
I'm glad you asked, Tim. We had one player for sure whose family had to leave the home, got some flood damage. Derek St. Hilaire's mom and dad, they had to leave the home. He's had a lot of, their families had some difficulty. The hurricane is just the finish of that. It's been, we had talked, as a matter of fact, Tim, so interesting you brought that up. We had talked today a little bit about it, and we offered our prayers, obviously, and trying to help that part out. And it has been, you can see it wears on him a little bit because you're so far away and you're uncertain about what's taking place. And it does put, in many ways, Tim, the perspective about really what is important. You know, anytime you get in a situation where things can affect a person's family and or them, it's really allows you to sit back and think maybe there are a lot of things that are just as important as what we're doing in football.
No doubt about it. Well, we'll continue to keep them in our thoughts and prayers, no doubt about it. As the state of Florida, we're going to take a little while to rebuild from that.
Yes.
Coach, thanks a lot for joining us, and we'll look forward to watching the Spartans this Saturday. You can view it right here on udspartans.com and the YouTube channel through the University of Dubuque on the air pretty close to 4 o'clock.
Don't forget that 4 o'clock start.
That's right.
It's easy to forget that time. So
Yep.
We'll be coming at 4 o'clock. It'll be another beautiful day. We've had gorgeous weather for the most part with the exception of lacrosse, and we're looking for another nice day on Saturday.
Definitely some football weather over the game as we hit October. Coach, thanks again.
Thanks, Tim.
All right, Head Coach Stan Zweifel, University of Dubuque Spartan head football coach, joining us. And of course, as the calendar flipped over to October, there's a lot going on at the Heritage Center this month and in the months to follow. And the executive director of the University of Dubuque Heritage Center, Tom Robbins, going to tell us all about it.
Hello, I'm Tom Robbins, Director of Heritage Center at the University of Dubuque, and we're so excited to be in the middle of our 10th anniversary season here. Hard to believe 10 years have already gone by, but this is our best season yet. And we're very excited about one particular event coming up on Tuesday, October 4th. And it's Matt V's Music of Neil Diamond, I Am, He Said. What's interesting about this show is it's the sons of Bobby V. Bobby V was a teen idol in the 1960s, had a number of hits, very popular, and his two sons are carrying on their dad's tradition. So it's Jeff and Tommy V, and there's actually other members of the V family that they love the music of Neil Diamond and wanted to put together this tribute show. So you're gonna hear all the hits. This is an 8-9-piece band, and you'll hear Neil Diamond's Cracklin' Rosie, you'll hear Song Sung Blue, you'll hear Forever in Blue Jeans, all of Neil Diamond's greatest hits. And a bonus with this show is that the University of Dubuque Concert Choir and some choir members from the community are going to be part of a grand finale of this show. So it's just going to be a wonderful event on Tuesday, October 4th, and tickets are still available, and we hope you'll join us for that very special event. Later on in the month, we also have our esteemed 1972 alum Tony Danza coming in for his 50th class reunion, and he's doing his show called Standards and Stories. So that's Saturday, October 22nd. One other special attraction during our 10th anniversary season is our new rewards program. We call it HPALS, and that stands for Heritage Performing Arts Loyalty System. It's a rewards program much like you'd find at many other places around the community, at restaurants and other places of business, where you earn a certain number of points for all the tickets that you're buying. And once you earn 200 points, which is basically $200 equals 200 points, you earn a free ticket that's valued at $50 or less. So when you go to purchase your tickets for the Neil Diamond Show coming up, be sure to click the button to activate the rewards program. You can go online to dbq.edu/Heritage Center to buy your tickets. You can come to the box office and ask to be enrolled in the rewards program. We're open 11 to 2, Monday through Friday. Or you can also call on the phone and we'll take care of your ticket order at that time as well. So many ways to get your tickets, but make sure you enroll in HPALS and start earning those points right away.
And thanks to Tom Robbins, Executive Director of the Heritage Center on the University of Dubuque campus. And you can always go to the website at the University of Dubuque to find out more about the upcoming events, not only in the month of October, but there's a big schedule of events coming in November, December, right through the remainder of the school year. And so just check out the University of Dubuque's website for ticket information. And of course, you want to check out udspartans.com this Saturday for the broadcast. Jim Cloran will join me as we have the Simpson Storm coming to Chalmers Field to take on the University of Dubuque Spartans. 4 o'clock kickoff, and then we'll be back here next Monday night for the University of Dubuque football show's head coach Stan Zweifel will join us again to talk about matchup with the Storm and then take a look at the Spartans' next contest. So until this Saturday, I'm Tim Lary. Have a great rest of your Monday evening.